All right, so episode 3 is already in the books of BMF season 3, and we've gotten I say some Easter eggs and some hints to what's gonna actually happen in the future, right? And I mean, we gotta talk about Brian for like a minute because it was like seeing that guy basically like he's in the whole suit, the whole get up and everything, and then he kills. I think that was Twan. I think he killed Twan. I believe. I think was that Twan or was that some? I no. I think yeah. Because Klutz was the one that got pulled in by the cops, by basically like pulled in by Jin, and I think that was I think Twan. So Brian I guess kills Twan, right, and then Jin gets shot, but then she noticed like what's going on. So I'm kind of wondering like what Jin is gonna do about all of this, because I mean come on now, Brian is trying his best to get some help for his son, and you see later in the story where his son is beaten up, like he's walking with a limp. Now I'm like, now hopefully this is just a beating, this is nothing else uh to that, right? But it seems like he gotten beaten up a bit, and then Brian is just like he's trying his best to get some help for his kid. And then you see like Terry and Brian is having this conversation. He's like, nah man, let's just be partners, man, let's put all this nonsense away or whatever. He's just like, I'd rather get ran over than to ever work with you guys, because he's like, listen, you and me should be in the jail cell. Now, I kind of wish Terry would have said something funny, like, yeah, even though we're free, but maybe later down the road, you probably might get us. I don't know. I wish you would have said something like that, because it would have been like also a thing that's gonna happen like in the future. But Terry played it cool. Right? Because it was just like, they was kind of playing dirty on Terry's part, because it was like the whole child services thing, trying to take away his kid, and Wanda like, nah, you need to fix this. I think it was Markeisha that did this, and then he later goes to see Markeisha. He's just like, did you have anything to do with this? He's like, no. And then Lucia tells Terry about it, like she was in the forces system and how bad it was, and he's like, nah, I'm gonna get this fixed. So I'm kind of curious to see what they're gonna do there. I'm a little bit intrigued about that type of story, but it's just like on Terry's side of the story, he's trying to like get things into motion, but you've already see like a couple of the players that was in that circle kind of leave, and they was like, you're not Meech, because it shows you how strong Meech presence is and how much it was felt in Detroit, where Meech was literally making all the calls, and everybody respected and liked Meech for it, because he's a guy that he thinks, and he's all about that action. He's all about the action. He's about the movement. So it's just like Terry. He's trying to like do something, but it's just like he's having like a slow start, and then you seeing how like Royal Oak, like she's dead again. That's going to be the whole thing between like Terry versus her. Like it's already going to look that way, and then seeing how she just lost somebody who was like really close to her. So she's like, now she wants to like come after like Terry and the rest of his crew. So that's gonna be quite interesting to see what's gonna actually happen there. Um, I would assume like maybe towards the ending, I would assume she probably might die. And anyway, I don't like the fact that she got a sword. She's rolling around with like a sword. I'm like, what is this? Are you Blade now? You Blade now? Like you got a sword and dressed up in black and long trench coat. I'm like, what is this? Like what's going on? But I mean, all right. I was like, all right. But then we go over to like Meech, right? And we seen like how Meech he flew out Charles, and Charles is getting to know like some of Meech's like crew, and he's just like, he wished he could have had like a music studio, but it was just like the lack of funds. And I really did like this episode a little bit, because it explained a little bit about how I guess the certain desires that Charles wanted to do, but then he had to give it up. As when later in the story, when Charles and Meech was actually talking, and he was explaining about like how he had to give up his dreams for his family, while Meech is trying to chase his, and he's trying to support his family. And Charles was kind of, in this episode was kind of like struggling a little bit, because he's already accepted it, but he sort of like he's already like sort of accepted like what Meech actually does, but it's just like he still grits his teeth about it, because he's just like, the stuff that you're doing is somewhat illegal, is still wrong. Because when it came down to like that house scene, I believe it was in a documentary where I think when the feds actually came for, when they were starting to come for the Henri brothers, and they was like, wait a minute, this house is in Charles's name. indicating that, oh, did Charles was, implying like he had something to do with the Flunnery brothers as well. And I think that's when, in the documentary, I think when it was explaining that, yeah, they arrested Charles, but then I think Meech and Terry, they had to clear that up to be like, well, he had nothing to do with it or whatever, to, not have him get charges. I believe that's what it was, though. I believe that's what it was in the documentary. But I did like that was like a little bit of an Easter egg of what's to come, like later on in the future, when eventually the feds do come for the Flannery brothers. But it was kind of funny because it was like, there was, I guess, like the family affair, and that's when like Charles meets like Solomon, and then he's like, he comes up, and then you find out like, wait a minute, because like one of Meech's friends was telling him like, oh, these like the Miami Killers, and then you see how they was staring at Charles, like one of the guys was staring at Charles. He's like, nah, yeah, you should go see Spike Lee, like Spike Lee's in the other room or whatever. He's like, nah, I'm comfortable here. Charles was like, nah, man, I'm put up with the crew, man. And then he like, nah, you should listen to Charles. And he's like, nah, there's some voodoo shit that's going on right now. And that's when he said, wait, Glock, like, this is you? It's an ad or whatever. He said, no, I own the security. I own your man that fixes your money. Like, that's my man. I own everything. Then they have like a whole big fight, and then the Red Dogs come in. Right? I liked all of it. I liked all of it because it was just like, Meech is trying to get stuff together, but then they robbed his supply. They, he can't go back home, so he has to, stay at this new crib that he's at. And then later on, he beats up Greeny because he's just like, yeah, you a snake. You basically set my shit up. And then he takes Angel along with him. And then he's kind of like, working on Angel for like a little bit, like telling her like her worth, that, her mind and her heart. She needs to know that because his mom was telling him about like knowing your worth as a female. Like, it was a bunch of stuff that I actually liked in this episode because it's going to only further progress the story even more. And then you got Stacks in the beginning. He was just like, nah, man, I'm not with all this nonsense. I kind of want to dip. But the cool thing about Meech is he was like, yo, I sold all my Rolex. Even though, yeah, there's no re-up right now. There's no money for y'all. But listen, I sold all my Rolexes. Here's a cut for everybody. And they was like, yo, he did that? And I'm like, see, this is why I said I really do like and respect, sort of, like, I do like and respect Meech because it was like, he's a generous man. If you ever seen, I guess, that interview years ago where he was just like, y'all got your own homes, your own hoes, nobody's sharing. If you want to share, you can share, but if not, everybody got their own. He's wow, what a guy, because it's like you see in the show, he's like, man, I'm making sure all my peoples eat. There's no if I fail, y'all all fail. Nah, man, if I fail, I'm gonna make sure y'all good. I said, man, that's wow. I was watching this. I was like, wow. People like that, they don't make them like that anymore. It's all for themselves. It's more like, if I got mine and you out there struggling, like, if you ain't my blood, my friend, ain't nobody, like, I ain't giving you nothing. I'm just like, man, but I liked it. I liked it a lot. But it's only going to further the story even more because now you have the Red Dogs, you have Meech trying to like work on, I guess, building his spot in Atlanta. Oh, and also we've also had like another hint, or not a hint, but like an Easter egg of Tupac. I was like, Tupac? He was like, because Meech and him, they was talking for like a little bit, and that's the thing too, because Tupac brought up a very interesting thing about the whole rap industry, about like how East Coast, West Coast, and all that jazz or whatever, and how they was kind of like beefing. And that's what it really was back in the 90s and I think 80s, where it was like, yeah, East Coast, West Coast, people was like shitting on like Atlanta rappers. It was like a whole big thing because I remember, I think Kid and Play, I think they was hosting, the event, and they was booing, oh my God, they made that song, oh my God, I'm starting to forget. Scared to death, scared to look your shirt. That song. Mobb Deep. There we go. Mobb Deep. I'm starting to forget. I'm so sorry. Mobb Deep. I think when they made that song, I think people was booing them. I don't know. Cause I know they won an award. I think they won an award. Somebody correct me in the comments because I think they won an award, and that they was getting booed, and then because I think the award should have went to somebody else, but I mean that was a whole big thing, and basically Tupac was explaining to him about I guess like the beef that goes on in the rap industry, and that's when Meech was just like, well, you know, he thought it was just only in his line of work, and he didn't expect it to be in the rap industry, and then that's when, you know, Tupac was just basically saying like, yeah, everybody loved Tupac even overseas, and then that's when Meech was just like, man, geez, I hope one day I could be like you, basically expanding his range overseas and throughout the world, basically doing all of that. So I was just like, yo, that was cool. I loved it, because I was trying to look it up. I was like, wait a minute. Did Meech actually meet Tupac? I don't know. I was trying to look and I couldn't find too much. The only thing I found was like that whole Keefy D thing, and I'm like, I don't know. But I was just like, man, but good. Really good, really good, really good. I like that. And then the whole, I guess, Jack the Rapper, that guy, where he was, I guess, in the story where Meech was explaining, or older Meech was explaining about, I guess, how he was influencing, I guess, like the music industry, and it was like one big thing at one point. But I mean, I guess they don't really do that now, which you could say, because it was like a really different time, especially like right now when it comes down to like the music genre. It's just, it's just terrible right now. But overall, it's really good. Episode was really good. Can't wait to see what's gonna happen next, because again, Lucia, and just getting to know the doctor even more. Charles coming home thinking he got a shot, and then he's like, he see like the check on the table. Now he can't get upset because he cheated, so he's gonna say some things, but he can't really be like, Lucia, I thought we were. He's like, no, Charles, you cheated. I don't want you anymore. It's a divorce we getting. So overall, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Catch you all in the next one.